Amanda. She looked up from the kitchen counter where she was arranging the last of the evening's preparation. Small, careful movements, the same quiet efficiency she had brought to everything in this house for 15 years. Kang Sung-jun was standing in the doorway in his tuxedo. 300 guests were already waiting in the Grand Hyatt Seoul's main ballroom. His 50th birthday, the most significant celebration of his professional life. The evening he had been planning for 6 months with the same obsessive attention to detail. He gave everything that mattered to him. He did not look at her the way you look at someone you are about to hurt. He looked at her the way he always looked at her, through her, past her, in the general direction of whatever task she was performing, with the specific unseeing quality of a man who has spent 15 years registering someone's presence without ever actually seeing it. "The children are ready," he said. "They are ready," she said. He nodded once, adjusted his cufflinks, turned to leave, then stopped, turned back slightly. Not all the way. Never all the way with Amanda. Always the three-quarter turn of a man whose mind was already in the next room. "I will make an announcement this evening," he said, "about the household arrangements going forward. Ha-young will be moving in next month." He paused. "We will discuss the details of your departure this week." Amanda looked at him. He had said it the way you say. The dry cleaning is ready or the car needs servicing. A logistical update, a household matter. 15 years delivered in 2 sentences between the doorway and the ballroom. She said nothing. He left. Amanda stood in the kitchen alone and listened to his footsteps fade down the hallway and through the front door. Then she picked up the dish towel and finished what she was doing, because that was always what she did. Amanda had come to the Kang family 15 years ago. She had been 32, a childhood education degree from the University of Lagos, and 6 years of experience working with children in 2 of Lagos's most respected international schools. She had come to Seoul on a work visa arranged through a placement agency that connected Korean families with qualified childcare professionals from across the world. The Kang family had been her 3rd interview. She had met Mrs. Kang first, a warm and quietly luminous woman named Soo-jin, who was 8 months pregnant with the youngest child and already visibly exhausted by an illness that the family was not yet publicly acknowledging, but that Amanda had recognized immediately in the specific, careful way Soo-jin moved through rooms and rested between sentences. Soo-jin had liked her immediately. Sung-jun had not been at the interview. He had been at the office. Amanda had taken the position because of Soo-jin, because of the warmth in the woman's eyes and the genuine love with which she spoke about her 2 existing children and the one coming. Because something in that interview room had told her that this family needed her in a way that went beyond the job description. She had not known then how completely right that instinct was. Soo-jin had died 18 months after Amanda joined the family. The youngest child, Min-jun, had been 2 years old. Ji-ho had been 5. Se-oh-yeon 3. Sung-jun had handled his wife's death by working more. Amanda had handled it by staying. The 3 Kang children had grown up understanding certain things about their world without anyone explaining them explicitly. They understood that their father loved them, in the specific limited way that very busy men love their children, which is to say genuinely but from a distance, expressed more through provision than through presence. There was always money. There were always good schools and good clothes and good food and every material thing a child could want or need. What there was not always, what there was almost never, was him. Ji-ho remembered his father attending 2 school plays in 17 years. Both times he had arrived late and left during the intermission for calls he could not postpone. Se-oh-yeon remembered the night she was 12 and had come downstairs crying and in pain, not knowing what was happening to her body, and the house had been empty of adults except for Amanda, who had heard her from the hallway, and come immediately and sat with her on the bathroom floor for an hour, explaining everything with the specific, gentle patience of someone who understood that this moment mattered more than anything else happening in the world that evening. Her father had been in Tokyo. Min-jun did not remember his mother. He had a photograph of her, beautiful, smiling, holding him as a newborn, that he kept in a frame on his nightstand. But the memory he reached for when he needed the feeling of being unconditionally safe and loved was not that photograph. It was Amanda's face on his first day of primary school, her hand holding his at the gate, her voice saying, "You are ready, my love. I will be here when you come out." His father's car had pulled out of the driveway that morning before he reached the gate. Amanda had stayed until the bell rang. Park Ha-young had been in Sung-jun's life for 14 months. She was 30 years old, polished and professionally accomplished. She ran the communications division of one of Seoul's most established luxury brands and moved through the city's social world with the practiced ease of someone who had decided early what kind of life she wanted and had pursued it with complete focus. She was not unkind to the children, but she was not Amanda. She did not know that Ji-ho's stomach hurt when he was anxious, and that the specific way he went quiet at dinner meant he needed someone to ask him a direct question rather than leave him to carry whatever he was carrying alone. She did not know that Seo-yeon's loudness was a performance, that the louder she got, the more frightened she actually was, and that what she needed in those moments was not to be told to calm down, but to be held. She did not know that Min-jun still sometimes woke up at 3 a.m., and that when he did, he needed someone to sit outside his door for 20 minutes without speaking. Just present, just there, just the specific reassurance of another human being close enough to reach if needed. Amanda knew all of these things. She had learned them across 15 years of 3 a.m. wake-ups and school gate conversations and dinner table silences and bathroom floor moments, and the thousand small interactions that accumulate between a person who shows up and the children who learn to trust that showing up. Ha-young had been in their lives 14 months. She had not yet learned their names for how they took their tea. The Grand Hyatt Seoul's main ballroom held 300 guests on the evening of Kang Sung-jun's 50th birthday. 300 of Seoul's most significant corporate figures, business partners, investors, and social acquaintances arranged across elegantly dressed tables under lighting designed to make everything look like the best version of itself. Sung-jun moved through the room with the practiced ease of a man entirely comfortable being celebrated, accepting congratulations, making the right comments, laughing at the right moments, projecting the specific warm authority of someone who has spent 50 years becoming exactly who they intended to be. Ha-young was on his arm. The children were at a table near the front. Ji-ho in a dark suit that Amanda had taken him to choose the previous Saturday, Seo-yeon in a dress she had tried on 4 times in front of Amanda's honest and loving assessment before deciding. Min-jun's tie knotted in the particular way Amanda had taught him 3 weeks ago when he had decided he wanted to learn. Amanda was not at the event. She had not been invited. She was at home, in the Kang family apartment that she had kept running for 15 years, making sure the children's school things were ready for Monday morning, the way she did every Sunday evening, regardless of what else was happening. At 9 p.m., Sung-jun took the microphone. He thanked his investors, his partners, his colleagues. Ha-young received a warm public acknowledgement that drew applause from the room. Then he said, "I also want to take a moment to mention some changes in our household arrangements. Our family's nanny, Amanda, has been with us for 15 years, and we are grateful for her service. As the children are now older and our household is evolving, it is time for her to move on. We wish her well." He said it between the acknowledgement of his chief financial officer and the announcement of the evening's charity donation. A logistical update, a household matter. 15 years in 2 sentences. 300 guests applauded politely and moved on. The Kang children did not applaud. Ji-ho set his glass down. Seo-yeon straightened in her chair. Min-jun looked at his hands for a moment. Then Ji-ho stood up. The room noticed Ji-ho standing before he spoke. Not dramatically. He was 17, not yet the fully formed version of the man he was becoming, but already carrying the specific quiet authority of someone who has decided something and is not going to be moved from it. He stood beside his chair with his hands at his sides and waited until the natural momentum of the room's attention found him. It found him quickly. Sung-jun turned from the microphone. "Ji-ho," he began. "I would like to say something," Ji-ho said. His voice was even, clear, carrying across the ballroom without effort. "About Amanda." The room went quiet with the specific quality of quiet that falls when something unplanned is happening and everyone present understands it simultaneously. Sung-jun's expression moved through several configurations before settling on something controlled and careful. "This is not the time." "You made it the time," Ji-ho said simply. "You announced it here, in front of everyone. So I would like to respond here, in front of everyone. He looked at his father for a moment, then he looked at the room. My name is Kang Ji-ho. I am 17 years old. Amanda has been my family's nanny since I was 2 years old. He paused. She attended every school play I was ever in, alone, because my father was in meetings. Another pause. She was there when I broke my arm at 8 years old and sat with me in the emergency room for 4 hours because my father's phone went to voicemail. Another pause. She taught me how to cook, how to apologize properly, how to listen to people when they are speaking instead of waiting for my turn to talk. He looked at his father. I learned that last one from watching her, not from watching you. 300 people did not move. Then Seo-yeon stood up. Seo-yeon stood beside her brother and looked at the room with the specific fierce clarity of a 15-year-old who has decided that the truth is more important than the occasion. I am Kang Seo-yeon, she said. I am 15. Her voice was not as controlled as Ji-ho's. It carried the emotion she was not trying to hide. Not because she lacked control, but because she had decided that hiding it was not something she owed this room. When I was 12 years old, something happened to me that I did not understand. She did not elaborate. She did not need to. The women in that room understood immediately. It was a Sunday evening. My father was in Tokyo. There was no one in the house except Amanda. She stopped, composed herself, continued. She sat with me on the bathroom floor for 1 hour. She explained everything. She held my hand. She told me I was not broken and I was not frightened and I was not alone. Her voice steadied. I was 12 years old and the most important thing that had happened to me in my life up to that point happened while my father was in Tokyo and Amanda was on the bathroom floor with me. She looked at Sung-jun. You want to send her away because she is no longer useful to you. Because Ha-young is moving in and the arrangement is no longer convenient. She shook her head. Amanda was never an arrangement to us. She was our family. She is our family. Then Min-jun stood up. He was 13, the smallest of the three, the quietest, the one who remembered his mother least. He did not say much. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and removed a photograph. He held it up so the room could see it. It was a photograph of Amanda holding his hand at his first day of primary school. Her face turned toward him. His face turned up toward hers. The expression on both of them unmistakable to everyone in that room. This is the photograph on my nightstand, he said quietly. Not my mother, not my father. He looked at Sung-jun. Amanda. He put the photograph back in his pocket. Then Ji-ho spoke again. One sentence. Quiet, final, absolute. If Amanda leaves this house, then so do we. 300 people held their breath. Sung-jun stood at the microphone with the expression of a man who has just had the floor removed from beneath him in the most public setting possible and is trying to process the physics of what is happening before he responds. Ha-young sat at the head table very still. Ji-ho, Seo-yeon, and Min-jun stood together beside their table. 3 children who had spent 15 years being provided for by a father who had never fully seen them, standing in the most public room of his life and telling him and everyone in it exactly what that had looked like from the inside. Sung-jun opened his mouth, closed it. His chief financial officer, a man who had known him for 20 years, looked at the tablecloth in front of him. His most senior investor, a woman whose opinion Sung-jun had always valued above most, was looking at the 3 children with an expression that had nothing corporate in it whatsoever. Sung-jun stepped back from the microphone. He crossed the ballroom toward his children's table. The room watched him cross it in complete silence. He stopped in front of Ji-ho. He looked at his eldest son, really looked, the full attention, the complete turn, the kind of seeing he had been rationing for 17 years. And something in what he found there made him close his eyes briefly. Sit down, he said quietly, not harshly, not as a command, as a man who needs a moment and is asking for it. Please. Ji-ho looked at him for a long moment. Then he sat. Seo-yeon and Min-jun sat beside him. Sung-jun turned to his guests. Please excuse me, he said. Enjoy the evening. And he walked out of his own birthday party. He drove to the apartment himself. No driver, no phone calls. Just the specific silence of a man traveling towards something he should have faced a long time ago and has run out of ways to avoid. Amanda was in the kitchen when he arrived. The children's Monday school things were laid out on the counter. Jiho's textbooks, Seo-yeon's sports kit, Minjun's lunchbox, already prepared with the particular contents that Minjun had liked since he was 6 years old and that Amanda had never once gotten wrong. She looked up when he came in. She did not look surprised. He sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where he had eaten approximately 1,200 meals in 15 years, most of them prepared by the woman standing across from him, most of them eaten quickly between calls or meetings or the next important thing, and put his hands flat on the surface. "I owe you an apology," he said. Amanda set down what she was doing, sat across from him. "I have been in this house for 15 years, he continued, "and I have never, not once, asked you how you were, whether you were happy, whether this work was what you wanted to be doing, whether you needed anything." He stopped. "I treated you like furniture, useful, necessary, invisible." Amanda looked at him with the specific expression of someone who has waited a long time for a conversation and is now deciding how honest to be in it. "Yes," she said simply. "You did." He absorbed that. "My children know you," he said. "They know you the way they should know me, and they do not know me the way they know you." He looked at the table. "I did that. I chose that. Every meeting I went to, every call I took, every Tokyo dinner, I chose all of it over being present in my own home, and I told myself it was for them." He stopped. "It was for me." Amanda was quiet for a moment. "Your children are extraordinary people," she said finally. "Ji-ho's sense of justice, Seo-yeon's courage, Minjun's gentleness." She paused. "You gave them life, and you gave them everything they needed materially. But the people they became, the specific, beautiful people they became, that happened in the spaces you left empty." It was the most honest thing anyone had said to him in 50 years. He sat with it for a long time. Amanda did not leave. Not because Sung-jun asked her to stay, though he did ask, genuinely and without the authority of an employer. As a man making a request he understood he had no right to make and was making anyway because it was true. She stayed because the children asked her. Ji-ho had called her from the Grand Hyatt while his father was driving home. Quietly from the corridor outside the ballroom, his voice carrying the specific vulnerability of a 17-year-old who has just done the bravest thing of his life and needs to know it was not for nothing. "Are you still there?" he had asked. "I am still here," she had said. "Will you stay?" She had been quiet for a moment. "Yes," she had said. "I will stay." Ha-young ended her relationship with Sung-jun 3 weeks after the birthday party. She did it kindly and honestly, told him that what she had seen at the Grand Hyatt had clarified something she had been uncertain about for months, that she did not want to be in a situation where 3 children had made their feelings so publicly clear, that she respected the clarity of what had happened even if it was not what she had expected. Sung-jun accepted it without argument. He understood it completely. The changes in the Kang household did not happen overnight. 15 years of absence could not be corrected in a week or a month or even a year. Sung-jun understood that and did not pretend otherwise. He began with small things. Arriving home for dinner without his phone on the table, attending Ji-ho's final school debate competition, sitting on the bathroom floor outside Seo-yeon's room during a difficult evening, not because he knew what to do, but because Amanda had told him once. Sometimes being present is the whole thing. You do not need to do anything else. Minjun was the slowest to open. He was also the most complete when he did. On a Saturday morning, 6 months after the birthday party, Minjun came into the kitchen where Sung-jun was attempting, badly, to make the breakfast that Amanda usually made. He stood in the doorway watching for a moment. Then he came and stood beside his father at the counter. "The eggs go in after the butter melts," he said quietly. "Not before." Sung-jun looked at him. "Amanda taught me," Minjun said, not as an accusation, just as a fact. "Will you show me?" Sung-jun said. Minjun showed him. They made breakfast together. Badly at first, better by the end. Amanda sat at the kitchen table with her tea and watched them and said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. Amanda stayed with the Kang family for 4 more years, until Ji-ho left for university, until Seo-yeon was settled in her final years of school, Until Minjun was 17 and steady and sure of himself in the way that children become sure of themselves when they have been genuinely loved. On the day she left, Sungjun gave her an envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, 3 pages. Everything he had not said in 15 years said properly at last. And beneath the letter, a bank transfer confirmation for an amount that reflected not what a nanny was worth, but what 15 years of extraordinary human presence in 3 children's lives was worth. Amanda read the letter at the kitchen table. Then she folded it carefully, put it in her bag, and stood up. All 3 children were there. Ji-ho, now 21, taller than his father, already carrying the quiet authority that was going to define him, hugged her first, long and complete. Seo-yeon held on the longest. She did not say anything because she was Seo-yeon, and when things mattered most, she went quiet, which was something only the people who truly knew her understood. Minjun was last. He was 17, almost a man, the child who had remembered his mother least and had therefore needed Amanda most completely. He hugged her with the specific wholeness of someone returning something they have been holding carefully for a very long time. "Thank you," he said into her shoulder, "for staying." "Thank you," she said, "for choosing me." She walked out of the Kang family apartment for the last time on a Tuesday morning in October, with 1 suitcase and 15 years of the most important work she had ever done, quietly contained inside her. The door closed behind her. Kang Seung-jun stood in the hallway after she left for a long time. Then he went to the kitchen. Made tea, badly the way he always made it, the way he had been slowly getting better at making it over 4 years of Saturday mornings and Sunday evenings, and the accumulated small lessons of a man learning to be present in his own home. He sat at the kitchen table alone, and for the first time in 50 years, he was not thinking about the next meeting or the next call or the next room full of important people. He was simply sitting in his own kitchen, in the quiet, learning, slowly and perfectly, genuinely, how to be still. It was the most important thing he had ever learned. It had taken him 50 years and 3 children standing up in a ballroom in front of 300 people to begin learning it. But he was learning, and that, Amanda had always said, was the whole point. Not perfection, just the willingness to keep trying. The moral lesson of this story is that money can buy presence in a room, but it cannot buy presence in a life. Kang Seung-jun gave his children everything they needed and almost nothing they actually wanted, which was simply him, showing up, paying attention, being there.